Hi, and in this video we're going to have a quick look at how to create a small table with rounded corners for the benefit of a couple of beginners who are having trouble modelling this particular item. So let's get started straight into Blender, and the first thing we're going to do is take the default cube and press X and delete that. Now we press 7 and we are now in top view, looking straight down on our scene, and the first thing we need to do is add a circle, so press Ctrl A, start again, press Shift A, add mesh, circle. Now in our control operations panel that's just popped up, you'll see the number of vertices is 32, so if we click that and we just type in 16, press enter, and we're done. We don't need to mess around with anything else at the moment. Just set that. Because we're looking at it from top down, we don't need to align it to view. We don't want any kind of fill type because we're going to use this as a corner. And to do that, we're going to go now into object mode, go from object mode into edit mode there, and just scroll in a little bit. Now we can see that our circle is nicely evenly arrayed onto the axes, and what we want is, I'm going to press C to get my paintbrush tool, hold my middle mouse button and just deselect all that lot, and press Ctrl I, because I should have deselected the 4/4 there. Anyway, with this 2/3 of our circle selected, we press X and delete vertices, and that leaves us with 1/4 of the circle remaining, and that's going to be the corner of our table. So if I now press L whilst hovering over the vertices, I can move this. So if I press GY and I want to move it down, so let's say -2, and that will bring it down there, and GX3, and that's going to make a pretty big table, but we don't need to worry about that at the moment. Now to make it into a proper oblong, we're going to use the mirror modifier. So if we come to our modifiers panel, oops, that's the constraints panel, next one along, add modifier, and we're just going to choose mirror. And if I open this up a little bit, where it says axis, we want X checked, and we want Y checked, and we want to check clipping. So you can't see anything on screen at the moment because we've only got vertices and the mirror only shows up faces. So let's start building our table. If I select the end vertex of the corner and I press E, I can drag that vertex around. So now if I press Y, it locks it onto the Y axis, and I move it straight up, and you'll notice it locks onto the red X-axis line because that's where we have our clipping plane on the mirror modifier. And if we do the same again with the other axis, E, and this time we want to be on the X-axis, so we are constrained that way. And I'm going to hide this widget by just clicking the icon down there because it's getting in the way. So now you can see we have the basic outline of a table. It doesn't look like much yet, so if I press A until everything is selected, and I press E, S, and I scale it in a little bit, you can see we now have a table-y shape, which is exactly what we want. And now we need to just simply fill in the rest of the table. So I can select everything and press F to create an n-gon in the center, but that seems to be having problems for some people. So if I hold down the shift key, select those three, no, let's just do those, EX, bring it in to about there, and EX to the end, select those two vertices, press F, F again, typical, doesn't work. So select all four of those, press F, 1, 2, 3, 4, press F, fill that face, 1, 2, 3, 4, and press F to fill that face. Now we have a fully flat plane that is in the shape of our table. So if I press A again, and if I S, Y, I can, no, ignore that. If I deselect those, press GY, I can change the width of the table, and then if I select those, GX, I can change the width of the table, make it a bit thicker or thinner as needed. But that is fine for the moment. And now if I go into a kind of side view, make sure everything is selected, press EZ so that I have a blue line, and I can now extrude the entire table down a little bit. So I just add a little bit of thickness for our table, and that's fine. That's everything we need there. And now to smooth it off, I'm going to add another modifier, and this one is going to be the subdivision surface. View of 2, and if I go into my tabs, shading UVs, select everything and choose smooth faces. That's all looking fine so far. Now we need to add a little bit of thickness to these edges, so if I press Alt, that'll select the entire edge loop. Typical, my computer's having some kind of fit. Right, what was happening? I think I had my hand on the laptop's control pad thing. Anyway, right, so we have that edge selected. I press Ctrl and B, and now I get this little string and I pull it out. I can create a nice bevel, and if I scroll my mouse wheel up, I can get a sharper edge. That's looking a bit nicer, and if I do the same, press Alt on the bottom, Ctrl B, pull it out a little bit. There we go, and if we look at our table in edit mode, you can see we have a nice smooth round edged table. So now I can press go back into object mode, tab, 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 there we go, press A. Now I can create a second lower portion of the table by adding an array, or I can duplicate this mesh, Shift D, press C to constrain it. Now I can simply bring it up to about there. Lovely, that's all looking fine. So that's basically our table done. Now if I go back into object mode, if I press Shift, what do I want? Shift A, add mesh, another circle, same 16 things. You'll see it's off center, so let's just start again with that. Press X to delete it, Shift S, and cursor to center. Now Shift A, add mesh, 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 circle. There we go. Now tab into edit mode. Press G, Y, bring it down. G, X, bring it across into the corner, press S, just to scale it down until we have a nice column size. That looks okay. Bring it down, bring it across, so that looks okay. Now if I press EZ, sorry, I can bring that up. GZ, bring that to the top of the table there. Press Alt, select the bottom row of vertices. Shift D, just drag it below the table. EZ to make the foot, and just press 5 to go into orthographic view so I can see that this tabletop isn't quite at the top of the thing. GZ, there we go. Alt GZ. So now both our leg pieces are in the table. You can fill the end caps if you wish. Simply select them, Alt ES, bring them in, ES, and then Alt M, merge at center, and that's fine. Now we add a modifier to this, subdivision surface, add modifier, subdivision surface, thank you. And now if we Ctrl R to add a loop cut down the centre of those posts, just to round off those bottom of the feet, Ctrl R just to round off the pillars. And you don't have to if you haven't capped the ends, but if you're going to have a glass table you'll want those ends capped, definitely. Now we need to do the same thing as previously and add the mirror modifier. Mirror, X and Y. We don't need clipping on this because they are just in the corners, and I think they're a bit too thick, so holding Alt and Shift I'm going to select, no, not Alt and Shift, I'm just going to press A to select everything, press S and Shift Z so we don't expand the height anymore. I'm just going to make them resized until they look about right for the size of the table, and that looks good, and there you have it, shade smooth on the table legs. Press Tab to go into object view, and that's it, very quickly, a simple table. Now all you need to do is add your shaders and text modifiers, and that's everything you need to do. Okay, hope that helped, and I will see you guys all in the next video, hopefully.